Good morning, baseball fans. How you doing? We got a busy Friday morning. We got some news. Michael Conforto heading to the San Francisco Giants. Who remembers Trevor Bauer? Trevor Bauer is back in Major League Baseball. What are some teams that could maybe go after Trevor Bauer? We'll break it down. Bryan Reynolds is in the news. Could Bryan Reynolds end up getting traded? Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Hello. Who do we got here in the chat on this fine Friday morning? Man, we are 2 days away until Christmas. I'm quite excited. The chubby little boy that I am inside is quite giddy over Christmas, man. As a kid growing up, I was always just waking up at 6 in the morning. Always wanted to wake up everyone in the house and open up all the gifts. And yeah, I'm still kind of that way. Well, maybe not really to get gifts. I'm more into the gift giving mode now. I don't really care if I get a gift or not. But hey, Christmas, one of my favorite holidays. Over the years, I have come to love Thanksgiving more and more and more. It's not up there with Christmas quite yet, but Christmas is still number one for me. But anyway, enough of me rambling. How are we doing this morning, everyone? How are we doing? I see James in the chat, one of our members here. Dr. Slicknuts, one of my favorite names in the chat. What is going on? Another member. How you doing? Seeing other familiar faces. I see Zachary Goldstein, one of our moderators. Blake Spicer, Andrew Lee, a couple more members in the chat. How you doing? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Everyone, thank you for joining me on this fine Friday morning. Another morning stream. These are, it was already rare to do one the other morning, and now I've done two in 1 week. I mean, my goodness, what is going on here? But we got some news to talk about. The big one last night, Trevor Bauer getting reinstated. We're going to talk about maybe some teams that I think could possibly go after Trevor Bauer. Michael Conforto going to the San Francisco Giants. Man, oh man, pending a physical. You got to watch out for those physicals over in San Francisco. And what else? Oh, Bryan Reynolds. Bryan Reynolds is in the news yesterday. I actually did a couple of videos yesterday. If you didn't see them, go check them out. I came up with 5 trades that I would like to see. Go comment on that video. Let me know if there's any other players that you think would be good trade candidates. I might do a part 2 on that one. It was only 5 trades, but I figured, you know what? Just come up with 5. Let's see if anyone else posts any suggestions, and maybe I'll do a part 2. So go check that out. And then I did a video on some possible destinations for Bryan Reynolds as well. So thank you everyone for joining me. Before I do get started, if you are new to the chat, to the channel, think about subscribing down below. We're trying to get to 30K by opening day. I remember last year, I think I was saying we're trying to get to 20K by opening day. And now we're trying to get to 30K. How time flies, everyone. How time flies. But help us get to 30K if you can. Hit the like button for us. That way we get out there into the algorithm. Share the stream if you can. And also don't forget about the little bell notification. As you can see, I am here live in the morning. I don't ever go live in the morning. This is it's the second time this week, but before this week, when did I ever go live in the morning? So you got to hit that bell. That way you know I'm live. So here we go, everyone. Let's get to it here. I'm getting the music ready. Here we go. All right, so let's get to the first story. This broke this morning. We got Michael Conforto in the news. And, hey, the Giants, they landed their big gun. They got Arson Judge, and now they got Michael Conforto. It's crazy to honestly see this news. We've been waiting for, a year and a half now for Michael Conforto to sign with the team. Man, he was so good with the Mets. And then, just really had a down year there. And then he was not able to sign with the team last offseason, was having some issues with the shoulder. He had draft pick compensation tied to him, so no teams were really wanting to take a dive on him. But here we go, getting a second life and going to the San Francisco Giants on a 2-year deal. There is an opt-out after the first year, but it is a guaranteed 2-year deal. So this was reported first by Bob Nightingale. Look at Bob Nightingale getting in on the scrum, reporting something first. I feel like Bob Nightingale hasn't gotten a lot of the first reports out there this offseason. We've seen a lot of Jeff Passan. We've got John Heyman out there. Those guys are just menaces when it comes to breaking news. But good for Bob Nightingale getting in on it. But again, the deal is pending a physical. I know you San Francisco Giants fans, you don't like that word, physical. So you got to, especially with Conforto. I think it's going to be okay. He's been away for a little while now. I think he's probably going to be good to go. So, but in the end, I like the move. Fangraphs has not updated their depth chart yet. Oh, they did. Okay, I take that back. Fangraph, they did not as of like 10 minutes ago or 15 minutes ago. But they have added Michael Conforto. I figured they would wait until after the physical. But, hey, you know what? He's not going to be a game changer kind of a guy, but he's if he is on his game, if he's back to what he was doing, back in 2019, 2020, he was hitting really well as well. And, that 2017, 2018, 2019 run that he was having, very solid seasons. 2020, he was doing really well. I think 2021, I think he was just going through some injuries. I think he was trying to just power through, and that's what, in my opinion, led to a down season, because his on-base percentage was still pretty good despite his batting average being down almost 100 points. So I still think Conforto is going to be really solid. I expect him, honestly, maybe like a 3.5 win kind of a player. They're projecting him to be a 1.9 Fangraph WAR for this year, but I think he could do. I mean, they're projecting a 244 batting average, but I mean, going back to that 2020 season over a small sample, he was hitting 322. But again, I think injuries really got to him. So he's never really been a high batting average kind of a guy, but I think he could do better than 244 personally. I think the on base could be even better than that. I'm excited to see what he can do. Like I said, it's been a bit since we've seen him, and good for him for getting a second chance, and it ends up just being perfect. With the San Francisco Giants, obviously, dominoes have fallen. We're not able to get Aaron Judge, didn't get Carlos Correa. It's funny how these things can kind of just work out. If Carlos Correa ended up going through, would Conforto still go to the Giants? I mean, it's still possible. I mean, obviously, Correa plays shortstop, but who knows if they would have gone this route. But they needed to add something. I mean, they couldn't walk away from this free agent market only getting guys like Ross Stripling and Shamanai. You got to get someone for this lineup. I remember coming into this offseason, this lineup was not looking very hot. It was, a couple of good bats in here, but now it's not going to be, an amazingly better lineup now. I mean, adding Aaron Judge would have been amazing, but it's a solid bat if he can get back to what he's doing. And, the way the Giants are, they love to play the lefty-righty matchups. They're full of the platoons. So I think they're going to end up making it work. I think you're going to see a decent Giants team. I think at the end of the day, it's really going to come down to how's the pitching going to be, how's the bullpen going to be. And I think the lineup will. The offense last year wasn't necessarily bad, but it could have been a little better. So Michael Conforto to the San Francisco Giants. Comment down below. Let me know what you think about the signing. I thought maybe there was a chance he could have gone to the Yankees. I thought that would have been a pretty cool fit. That lefty bat there, staying in New York, but in the end, going to San Francisco. All right, let's get into the big news, huh? Let's get into the big news. And hey, I'll be honest with you. I wasn't expecting this last night. I was not expecting this news to drop. Trevor Bauer back in Major League Baseball. Remember, he had a 324-game suspension under the domestic violence policy, but a arbitrator ruled that it is now going down to 194 games. He has already served that, so he is going to be reinstated immediately. Trevor Bauer, basically, his salary, remember, he signed a 3-year, $102 million deal. So essentially that ends up becoming about a 3-year, like 80. I'm trying to do the math in my head. What was it? 102 or like around a 3-year, like $64 million deal. So basically, after missing all the time, because when you're suspended due to the domestic violence policy, you're not getting paid. So he ended up losing about $38 million. So his contract ends up basically just becoming a 3-year deal with a $22.5 million AAV. So Trevor Bauer, he's back. So where do you go from here? Well, the first order of business is, what do the Dodgers do? They have until, I believe, January 4th to decide if they're going to keep him on the roster. I don't think they're going to keep him on the roster. There are reports, when the whole thing went down, the players did not want him, to come back to the team. They didn't want just all of that, the media with it. Would have been a huge distraction. Players obviously were feeling a certain type of way about the whole thing. So they just didn't want all of that coming to the team. I can understand that from a player's point of view, when you got a team trying to win a championship and then, one guy is bringing in just like a ton of attention. And say what you will about, the whole Trevor Bauer thing. Obviously, when it came to the case itself, it was dismissed. It never really got all that far. There was a restraining order filed against him, but that got turned down by the judge. There was never really any overwhelming evidence to prove that he did anything. However, I will say with Trevor Bauer, at the end of the day, I think we can all agree whatever went down, there was a lot of he said, she said. There was, text messages going back and forth both ways. I think we can all agree where we can find some common ground is he probably could have been a bit more responsible with the whole thing. Whether or not, what he does in his personal time, that's his business. But I think we can all agree he probably didn't go about things the best way possible. And in the end, he did bring negative publicity to Major League Baseball. In the end, the whole thing got dismissed. There have been, players that are still playing in the league where there is actual evidence of, them doing things like, Marcell Ozuna, for instance, getting a DUI, having something going on, with his wife and still playing in the league. So with Trevor Bauer, it was dismissed. In the end, you could say the suspension was fair, not fair, wherever you lie. I think we can all agree he probably could have been a bit more responsible when it came to everything. Could have, and whatever happened with the actual incident itself, I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and say, I know all the little details about it. Obviously, I don't. But I think Trevor Bauer could have approached things probably a little more responsible. That's all I'm going to say on that. So I think we can all agree on that. So let's get back to the baseball, though. With the Dodgers, I don't think he's going to go back to the Dodgers. I think they're going to cut him. I think they're going to designate him for assignment. Then he would go to waivers, right? So if a team wants to claim him, remember, so it would start from, the teams with the worst record, going all the way up to the best team. So would anyone put in a claim on Trevor Bauer? Would they put in a claim to where they could work out a trade? I think the Dodgers would love that. Don't think that's going to happen either. I think teams, they're going to wait for him to get to the open market, and then they will work out a new contract. Because you also have to think here, too, with this whole thing, it's not just about signing a player. They're going to have to sit down. They're going to have to talk with him. They're going to have to talk with their PR departments. They're going to have to talk about things with sponsors. There's going to be a whole lot of due diligence when it comes to a process like this. So it's not just going to be bang, bang. Trevor Bauer is going to be with a new team in 2 weeks. I think this could definitely take a little bit. I think he could sign with a team before the season. Because at the end of the day, I think a team would like to have a new player be ready, for spring training. And the one thing with Trevor Bauer is he has been keeping himself in shape. He's been still throwing. He still does stuff on his channel. He's still pitching. So I think Trevor Bauer, he'll be ready to go when the time is right. It's a matter of when will he sign. I think he could sign this offseason. I think, you still have quite a while before spring training. If this happened, let's say this happened, I don't know, a month from now, like January 23rd, beginning of February, then I think it would be pretty much obvious that you would have to wait until probably a couple months into the season, because again, there's a process that needs to play out here. You got to sit and talk with the guy. You got to talk with agents. You got to work out a contract. What do you think is a fair value? This is going to take a little bit, I think. So I still think there is enough time to get something done before spring training, but I definitely think you could see him sign. I think you could even see him sign in spring training, maybe, or towards the end of spring training. Maybe he starts maybe a month into the season, maybe 2 months into the season. Maybe he ends up coming back at the All-Star break, something like that. It really just depends. It really just depends on how just the process goes, right? Having conversations. I think there will be teams in the mix. I don't think it's going to be. I think there will obviously be teams that are just completely not interested because they don't want to take any kind of a PR hit. I will say right off the bat, I see a lot of people saying the Mets. I don't think the Mets are going to go after Trevor Bauer. They got a lot of good vibes going on right now. I don't think Steve Cohen is going to mess with that. Yeah, sure. Like, the Mets were in on Trevor Bauer. It was reported that he was going to the Mets at one point. Who was that again? Was that Bob Nightingale that said that? Yeah, it was Bob Nightingale. But I don't think the Mets are going to go after him personally. They've already signed quite a lot of starting pitching already. I think Steve Cohen is a little smarter than that. You know, he obviously just signed Carlos Correa too. I don't see the Mets doing it. I really don't. I'm seeing the Mets doing a lot of things. I'm seeing a lot of people saying the Mets, but even if you signed him to a really cheap deal, like a 1 year, $5 million, I just don't think the Mets are going to do it. Personally, I think there's a lot of good things going on right now with the Mets. People are feeling good, and if you're bringing in Trevor Bauer, at the end of the day, it is going to be a question mark. It's going to be, I don't think the Mets want that kind of attention right now. I think they want to keep the focus on bringing a World Series to Queens. You know, and I think Trevor Bauer, it's just going to bring in a different attention with the media there. I don't see it. I just don't see the Mets doing it. But then again, Steve Steinbrenner is a madman. He definitely could do it. I don't know. I mean, who knows? If he thinks it's going to help them win a championship and he doesn't care, yeah, sure. But my gut feeling says probably not. I don't know. I think it's easy because the Mets right now are hot, and I think anyone that's available, yeah, you're going to think the Mets are going to go after that guy. I don't see it personally. Now, let's take a look. Before I do get to some other teams, I just want to go over a couple of the tweets that were put out yesterday. I found this to be interesting. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. I think we can all agree that Trevor Bauer is not going to be an LA Dodger. I think that is pretty. I think we can all agree on that. He's not going to go back to the Dodgers. You can make an argument whether the Dodgers should bring him in. I just don't think they do it. So Trevor Bauer actually tweeted yesterday, the 2023 season vlog is going to be fire, fire. Can't wait to see y'all out at a stadium soon. I know Trevor Bauer had to giggle profusely when he put the letter A. Tell me that guy did not let out a little bit of a giggle when he put the letter A there. You know he did. I thought that was really funny. Like, I don't know. I thought that was hilarious. But Rachel Luba. Remember when Rachel Luba was all over the news when Trevor Bauer, you had the Trevor Bauer sweepstakes? She was everywhere. You're seeing Rachel Luba all over the place. I haven't seen anything about Rachel Luba for like over a year. I didn't even know she still existed. But statement from John Fedorov, Sean, Holly, and me. I see a super chat coming in. Jimmy, thank you. I'll get to that in just 1 second. She says here, while we are pleased that Mr. Bauer has been reinstated immediately, we disagree that any discipline should have been imposed. Mr. Bauer looks forward to his return to the field, where his goal remains to help his team win a World Series. Now, the Dodgers also came out with a statement here. We have just been informed of the arbitrator's ruling and will comment as soon as practical. I am very curious to see what the Dodgers end up saying. I don't think you're going to see them say anything until I do think they are going to designate him for assignment. I think they are going to cut him, and I think they will talk at that point. Once that is over and done with, they'll probably put out a statement after that. So I wouldn't expect anything from the Dodgers anytime before he ends up getting released. And again, I will say this one more time. He will get released. I think he's going to get designated for assignment. So let me get to these super chats here. Let's see. Did I miss any? Knowing me, my potato brain, I definitely missed some. Here we go. 2 from Jimmy Productions. Did you hear about the Nats getting Jeter Downs? Yeah. Hey, good for Jeter Downs. You know, I was kind of thinking about this with Jeter Downs, Jimmy, and I think Jeter Downs was kind of, I think this is going to be good for him. Just a fresh start somewhere. I think there was a lot of expectations put on him. Obviously, he was a guy coming back for Mookie Betts. A lot of people were, if you noticed about Jeter Downs, right? The one thing people kept talking about with Jeter Downs was the fact that he was named after Derek Jeter. The media, they're so weird. They're the weirdest people. It's like, that's the one thing that they talked about with Jeter Downs. Anything you heard about Jeter Downs, it was that he was named after Derek Jeter, and then he got designated for assignment, and the Red Sox lost the trade. There was never anything about him, about his ability. There was never anything about him when it came to what he did on the field. There was nothing. And so, like, to me, it's just like there was just all these weird expectations of Jeter Downs. So in the end, I'm glad he's getting another shot somewhere. And I think for the Nationals, good move. You know, like, why not? This is a guy who was a former top prospect. Bring him in, low expectations. Let him just focus on his game instead of just people saying that he was named after Derek Jeter. You know what I mean? Like, I think mentally that kind of gets to you because people are expecting, oh, there's the next Derek Jeter because he's named after Derek Jeter. I don't know. I think it was just weird. Jimmy Productions, $4.99. The Cardinals will get Trevor Bauer because they need pitching. If they want to compete, go and get Trevor Bauer. I mean, I definitely think they could use him. I don't know. The Cardinals seem to be an organization where I don't think they would want that attention, personally. They just seem to be like, the Cardinals are just like that classy organization, you know, like a very tried and true franchise. A lot of history there. I don't know. I feel like the Cardinals wouldn't make a move like that personally. I see the fit, though. They could definitely use a top-of-the-line starter. So, Borderland, how you doing, my friend? $5. I could see Bauer going to the Padres and bring some rivalry going. How awesome would that be? How awesome would that be? I hope he stays in the National League West. I would get so much popcorn. The first game back in Dodger Stadium, pitching, crowd. There would be a good amount of people booing. There will be a lot of people at Dodger Stadium that would cheer him. I definitely think Trevor Bauer has a big supporting fan base, you know, and there are a lot of those. I've seen people on Twitter that are Dodger fans. You know, they comment on his posts saying, hey, just letting you know I support you through thick and thin. I definitely think there would be a lot of Dodger fans if he were to go back to Dodger Stadium and pitch. I think he would get cheered a lot. Brian, how you doing, my friend? I'm a Giants fan, and with the disaster they had this offseason, I wouldn't be surprised if they signed Bauer. You know, I'm gonna comment on that one. I don't know. This is a weird one, right? Because he would obviously help out so many teams. But even if he's just like the third starter, you know, he would help out a team's rotation. Absolutely would. I just wonder if the Giants do it. You know, like, I don't know. I just think the Giants, I don't think he stays. Personally, I don't know if he stays in California. You know, I wonder if because you got to think, you know, it's the Dodgers. They're in California. I could see a team like the Padres, maybe. I think that would be really cool if he were to go there, and then you got a bit of a rivalry. But I just wonder if a team in California, because of, you know, if it's going to be negative PR with the Dodgers, but you know, it's in California. So I wonder if it would be the same anywhere he went. You know, I don't know. This is such a tricky one, you know, because it's easy to kind of sit here and speculate what would be the best fits for him. But you have to look at quite a lot of factors when it comes to this. So, you know, while we're talking about teams, let's go over some teams that I think could take a chance on Trevor Bauer. So I'm going to start with teams that just need pitching, right? And I'm looking right now at the projections for next year, the starting pitching projections. I'm just going to go team by team here at the bottom. The A's, I just don't think. If he accepted like a very small deal, the A's got to sell some tickets. I mean, I know I just said probably won't stay in California, but the A's got to sell some tickets. If he went on a very cheap deal, maybe the A's, I'd probably say no, though. Jimmy Productions, how you doing? Do you like Cole Calhoun? I heard the Nats are interested. Yeah, he'll be a kind of a solid, gritty player to have on a team. Why not? I think the Nationals could be good for him. Thank you, Jimmy. Rockies, you know, they're not in California. They could use some pitching. I don't know. His slider would work in Coors. Maybe. I don't know. I think the Rockets, they've always been that kind of, they've made these wackadoodle moves, right? They traded away Nolan Arenado. They got rid of the salary, and hey, they took the hit after that. And then they ended up, signing Chris Bryant, which was just like very wackadoodle. I wonder, I wouldn't count the Rockies out. They're kind of just, I've said this before about the Rockies. They're like that weird guy at the party that kind of just hangs out in the back, they're just sitting there. I wouldn't count out the Rockies because they've just done weird things, So maybe probably not though. Orioles, I don't know. I don't think the Orioles want to do that. They got a lot of young guys there. I don't think the Orioles would want to bring that kind of attention personally. I think if they were to bring in a guy, they would probably want to bring in like a, top of the rotation guy that doesn't have any sort of baggage. Nationals, probably not. They're not really competitive right now. I don't really see it. Again, if they want to maybe sell some tickets, but then again, I don't know. I don't think the Nationals, I think he ends up going to a team. This is where I think Trevor Bauer, that's kind of a team that I think he'll go to. I think he'll go to a team that is in the competitive picture, right? Where they could go after a wild card. I could see where maybe he could get them over the hump a little bit. I could see Trevor Bauer going to a team like that. So Nationals, I just don't think there's really any point. The Royals, no, I don't really see it. I think the Royals, they're kind of just, I don't know. To me, the gut feeling that I have with them personally is you got a lot of young talent there. I don't know. I just don't see it personally. The Pirates, no. I find the Diamondbacks interesting. Because this is the team that drafted him. They could use another guy in this rotation, and they're kind of in that. I think they could be a good team. Could they bring back the guy that they drafted? Maybe. And I believe he has a home in Arizona. Maybe they feel like, all right, we can bring him home. This will be a good environment for him. Maybe. I could see a fit like the Diamondbacks. Do they want, I don't know. Will they want the attention? I don't know. But, I could see kind of like that, sort of that at-home feel, just bring him back home kind of a thing. And, all right, come on, Trevor. Come on back. We'll take care of you. You're good here, right? Maybe the Diamondbacks. But again, and again, they drafted him. So maybe the Tigers, maybe, they were a bad team last year, but they got talent on this team. I think they could use another starter. Skubal, who knows how long he's going to, how he's going to be this coming year. I think they could use another starter. I wouldn't count out Detroit. I think they need a bit of like a shot in the arm kind of a thing. So I wouldn't count out the Tigers. Cubs, they could use another guy. Maybe. I don't know. I'm kind of just like going off a feel right now, like kind of like a gut feeling. Do the Cubs really want that? I mean, that's the thing. The Cubs, they have a big market. I don't know. I don't necessarily see a big market team going for him, right? Like the Mets, the Cubs. I'll cross off my Red Sox right now, personally. I wouldn't count my Red Sox off completely, or I wouldn't count them out completely, only because if Chaim Bloom can get him on like a cheap deal, I wonder if maybe that would be something that they take advantage of. But then again, with the Red Sox, their ownership, I don't see them wanting to do that personally. The Red Sox ownership, they are obsessed with public relations. I don't see them going after Trevor Bauer. I could see Chaim Bloom, thinking like, all right, we can get this guy for cheap. He could help our starting rotation, but I don't think ownership would go for it personally. Super chat coming in. Borderland. Bauer's also got Phillies vibes. Hey, he'd be pretty good for them too. He'd be good for a lot of teams. It's like, that's not the question here. It's a matter of which team will think the juice is worth the squeeze. That is the team we're talking about. That's the team that we're looking for here. The Cardinals. We already talked about the Cardinals. I just don't think they do it. I don't think they never seem to have any kind of a negative attention like that. Could he go back to the Reds? Personally, I just don't think they'll spend the money. I think they're just going in a completely different direction. The Twins. Could he help the Twins? I remember before he signed with the Dodgers, I thought the Twins would have been a pretty solid place for him to go. Could you maybe, use a little bit more depth? Maile, Maeda. Maile had a couple injuries last year. Maeda, he was out all year. Could the Twins maybe go for it? Try and be a bit more competitive in that Central? I could see the Twins maybe thinking, all right, whatever. Hey, I think the juice is worth the squeeze. The Guardians, I'm going to say no. I have seen a couple of tweets saying, hey, go back to Cleveland. I don't see it happening. No, Terry Francona will be like, no, I don't want this guy on the team. No. And the Guardians, they did the whole name change thing. That was a complete public relations move. No, they're not bringing in Trevor Bauer. White Sox, maybe the White Sox. I would not count them out. Hey, they made a bold move bringing in Tony La Russa. Why not? They could use a little bit more pitching. All right, you got Dylan Cease, Lance Lynn, Giolito, Clevinger. You never know what Kopech is going to be health-wise. I could see the White Sox going after Trevor Bauer. They've made bold moves before. Why not? The Mariners, probably not. They already got a pretty full rotation already. I don't see it. Again, the Red Sox. I think Bloom would see the value, adding a guy like Bauer. You could probably get him on like a 1-year, $15 million deal, something like that. I could see Bloom wanting to be all over that. But I think he'll also look at, is it worth it? And then ownership will probably be like, no, we're not bringing in Trevor Bauer. So Red Sox, no. Dodgers, no. Astros, I'll probably say no on the Astros. How interesting would that be? That'd be incredibly interesting. I mean, that'd be popcorn right there. After, stuff that he was saying about the Astros, and then he ends up going there. I think that'd be hilarious, honestly. But you did just lose Verlander. The Astros, then again, I don't think the Astros want any more negative energy or attention at all. So they just went through the whole cheating scandal. I don't think they want to go through something else. So I'll say no on the Astros. Giants. Here's the thing. The Giants would make sense on paper because I think they could use a guy with Logan Webb, and you just lost Carlos Rodon. But the thing is, with the Giants, you have had a pretty negative offseason, right? You didn't get Aaron Judge. Carlos Correa completely fell through. You did get Arson Judge. That was pretty good. And then you just got Michael Conforto this morning. Man, I don't know. I think PR-wise, I don't think the Giants do it, personally. Padres, here's the thing with the Padres. Here's the thing. They want to win. I personally don't think they get him. They also did just sign Seth Lugo. Bauer would be awesome for this rotation. The Padres, here's the thing with the Padres. They're always just hanging around, right? And now the Mets, they want to win too, obviously. These two teams, they're all in, right? The difference with the Mets, though, is that media market is just way more intense. The Padres, on the other hand, not so much. So I could see them maybe thinking about it. But, I don't know. Will he? I don't know. I think it would be awesome. How awesome would that be? Padres, Dodgers, Trevor Bauer, first game at Dodger Stadium. Oh, buy your tickets, buy your popcorn, get your Dr. Pepper. That would be amazing. Blue Jays. Did just get Chris Bassett. Probably not. They're owned by Rogers Communications, big company. They probably won't want that PR, I would think. Personally, I would say no on the Blue Jays. Angels. I mean, listen. I thought the Angels were the perfect fit for Trevor Bauer. Here's the problem with the Angels, though, is they're trying to sell the team. I don't see them signing Trevor Bauer. I don't think I think that could affect any, sort of when it comes to selling the team. I think that could, especially with sponsors and everything involved too, I could see that being a little tricky. Alex Silva, how you doing? I can see the Padres, their pitching coach used to be Bauer's. That is a good connection, Alex. Good call right there. Great call. Old pitching coach. I think that's possible. I didn't say no on the Padres. I don't know. I'd probably say 40% chance. It's the PR. But the Padres, to me, I don't know. I just don't think. I get this vibe, this sort of gut feeling. They don't care. They care, but they just want to win. I definitely think the Padres are a possibility, and that's a good call as well, Alex, with the pitching coach. I definitely think that is something. He's gonna have to go somewhere where he'll just be a good fit, not just with his talent, but just as his personality too. So there's a lot of things to weigh. The Marlins, no. Rays, no. Phillies, I'll say no. Dave Dombrowski, never count that guy out, though. I could see him being like, at least, scratching the chin a little bit at Trevor Bauer. I think there's he could think about it. Probably no, though. Braves, nah, I don't see it. Texas Rangers. Hey, man. Texas. They're trying to get in it. They're trying to get involved. They're trying to get into the playoff picture. I'm just saying, they're, I think they could see it, juice being worth the squeeze. But then also I think about the fact that they want to create a good culture there. And I wonder if they see Bauer as a fit with personality wise. I could maybe see the Rangers. I think they would like to add the talent that he has. Will they think it's worth it? I think it's possible. I do. And why not just keep adding starting pitching? They've added a ton of it this offseason. Why not keep going? Do they view Bauer as someone that can contribute to a championship winning culture? That's what I think it will come down to with the Rangers. The Brewers, no. Again, I talked about the Mets. I don't think it's the Mets. I think, they've had a lot of good energy, but I don't think they want a risky PR move like this. I think they just stay out of it. They were in on Bauer, before. That's the one possibility I could see with them maybe taking a shot at it because they were involved with him before. But I just personally think, I think Steve Cohen, he is spending money left and right. But does he view this as a move that's really worth it? I personally think no. I think they've made a lot of great, good vibes kind of moves this offseason. And obviously just bringing Carlos Correa. Spirits are very high right now. And I think Bauer, they might see it as it could really dampen kind of the good vibes. I think some people would love it. But then again, I don't know. I think a lot of people would be a little like, really? You're gonna bring in Bauer? I don't know. And the Yankees, no. Obviously, got Garrett Cole. They do not like each other. No. And they just signed Carlos Rodon. No, they're not bringing in Trevor Bauer. So if I were to give you my top 3 teams, personally, I'm gonna go. And these are really not in any order. Not really any order. I'm going to go Diamondbacks. I'm going to go White Sox. Because you also got Mike Clevinger there too. They're good buddies. So, I think the White Sox are a possibility. I'll say Padres. And then I'll give you 4 teams. And the Rangers. So I'll go 4 teams. Rangers, Padres, White Sox, and the Diamondbacks. I'll throw in the Tigers there as well. So if I were to give you 5 teams that I think make the most sense, I'll go Rangers, I'll go Padres, I'll go White Sox, I'll go Tigers, and I'll go Diamondbacks. Those are the 5 teams that I think make the most sense for Trevor Bauer when it comes to everything involved. When you're looking at they could use some starting pitching. Can they handle the PR? Will his personality fit in the organization? So those are my 5 teams. So that's what I'm thinking personally when it comes to Trevor Bauer. So I think I have talked enough Trevor Bauer already this morning. I feel like I just went into like an hour of that. So let's move on here. And again, I did videos on this yesterday. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. But let's talk a little Bryan Reynolds. The Yankees have been tied to Bryan Reynolds. And here was the report from Jon Morosi. Am I sharing the screen? What's going on my screen? There it is. Here we go. So, Jon Morosi, the Yankees are among the teams in contact with the Pirates on Bryan Reynolds over recent weeks. One obstacle is to a trade is that Pittsburgh prefers starting pitchers to headline the return, and the top end of the Yankee system is deeper in position players. The video that I did yesterday, I went over 5 different teams. I went over the Yankees, I went over the Red Sox, I also went over the Blue Jays. Who are the other 2 teams that I came up with? The Dodgers and the Rangers, right? And then I talked about the Giants in there as well. When it comes to let's go to top prospects. So if the Pirates are looking for pitching, right? When you're looking at the Yankees, you don't got a whole lot of pitching at the top. You do have Clark Schmidt, that is a young guy. You got Will Warren, who's your number 8. Will Warren was drafted in 2021. Had an okay season in the minors last year. Not amazing by any means, but I don't think he is someone, as of right now, that really gets a deal done for Bryan Reynolds personally. I mean, I know a lot of people might say Giraffe Nick Robbie here. I do think the Red Sox would have a better chance at acquiring Bryan Reynolds, personally, because they have some prospects that you could deal. They got Ceydan Rafaela. You got a Miguel Bleis, who was an international signing not too long ago. I don't know, though, if the Red Sox would want to part with these guys. They like Rafaela a lot. So he is someone that has just been on fire this past year. He was near the bottom, and now he's your number 3. The one thing I am looking at with him, though, is while his numbers overall were good last year, that was at A-ball. When he went to Double-A, the batting average dropped, his on-base dropped, his slugging dropped. It's still good numbers overall. He still had 12 home runs. But when you look at the strikeouts and the walks, I don't think you can see it on my screen, I'm sorry, but he had 62 strikeouts last year in Double-A, and he only had 16 walks. That's not a very good strikeout to walk ratio. He did have 14 stolen bases. Now, if he can clean up the plate discipline, I think he could be a really good player. I just think if you're not really showing great plate discipline in Double-A, I don't think that's a great sign for the majors. But I think if he can clean it up a little bit, and if he can kind of try not to be over aggressive, right? I don't mind if a player is being aggressive at the plate, but when you're being a bit over aggressive and you're striking out a lot more than you're walking, I'm not a big fan of that personally. So I think Rafaela has a lot of potential to be a superstar kind of a guy. He can play a whole ton of different positions. He can play in the infield. He can play in the outfield. I think the Red Sox will personally end up hanging on to him. But if the right deal comes along, I had a lot of people in the comments saying, why would the Red Sox trade for Bryan Reynolds? He's going to be a free agent in a couple of years. I think that is someone they would they could end up signing to an extension because he is not going to get the kind of money that Bogarts is going to get. He's not going to get the money that Devers is going to get. Bryan Reynolds would be a lot more affordable, in my opinion. I could see the Red Sox doing something like that, personally. So, but will they want to part with, they're still trying to build up this farm. Will they want to get rid of some of these guys for someone like Bryan Reynolds? And they also have Tanner Houck. That's, if we're talking about starting pitching, Tanner Houck would lead the way in that kind of a deal. They want starting pitching. Well, there you go. Tanner Houck is I wouldn't say he's in no man's land right now. He's currently projected for the bullpen. He could win a rotation spot out of spring training, but his role is a bit undefined right now. So I could see Tanner Houck being expendable. I think it's possible the Red Sox go after him, but personally, I think the team that just makes the most sense would be the Dodgers because they have some good pitching in this farm. You could part with a Ryan Pepio. You could part with a Gavin Stone. You could also send back a good outfielder in an Andy Pages, or maybe you could send back someone like a Michael Busch. I don't think they part with a Bobby Miller, personally. I think they're going to hang on to Bobby Miller. I don't think they're going to get rid of him. I think this guy, they see a lot in him. And, man, and this guy last year, good amount of strikeouts, doesn't walk a whole ton of guys. I think Bobby Miller is a guy they're really excited about. If it landed them someone like extremely good, I think they could maybe put him in a deal. But I think for Bryan Reynolds, I don't know. I think they probably see it being more worth it to hang on to him. That's just my quick take on that. But I think the Dodgers make the most sense when it comes to getting a deal done because they have the prospect depth, they have the pitching to trade, and then they could also send back a good outfielder in Pages, a power hitting righty bat, So and he's pretty close to being major league ready. So the batting average needs to come up a little bit, but his slugging was pretty good last year. On base was okay. He had 26 home runs. He did strike out a lot. So that's one thing that is a little bit of a concern with Pages. So, but the power is real with him. I could see the Dodgers getting a deal done. Maybe the Rangers. The Blue Jays, I would probably say no because they would have to get rid of like all of their top guys in that farm. You have Tiedemann. I don't see it though. I don't see them parting with the Tiedemann. You'd be giving up the top of your farm. I don't know. I don't see it. And the Rangers, they got a couple of guys. They got some pitching. They could use Bryan Reynolds. He would be a good fit out in left field. So I wouldn't count the Rangers out. They could make some sense. But for me personally, I think the Dodgers make a lot of sense. I think the Red Sox maybe. The Yankees, I don't know. I don't know if they have the pitching. And if the Pirates like Clark Schmidt, then sure. Okay. You can do Clark Schmidt. So, but everyone, I think that's all I got. There is one other story. We had a little something. Oh, the Reds got Will Myers yesterday. Look at Will Myers getting himself a one-year deal with the Reds. Look at the Reds getting in on it. But there was a rumor from Chad Jennings. The Red Sox and the Marlins have talked to Joey Wendell. What do you know? No surprise. Former Tampa Bay Ray, Chaim Bloom. He loves his Rays. But, Joey Wendell, and people are thinking like, oh, this is our next shortstop. No, he wouldn't be the next shortstop. He would probably play second. Right? Here's the thing with Joey Wendell, though. Hold on. Let's go pull it up here. So, hold on a second. Wait, where's the Marlins? Here we go. Marlins. Nope, I clicked the wrong one. Here we go. So, Joey Wendell. What I found interesting about it is he can play short, but the guy has played way more third base in his career. You know what made me think about that? It made me think, oh, are they really looking at trading Devers? Personally, Joey Wendell's not a game changer by any means. He's a good utility player, I think. But I don't know. I think they see him as more of like a second baseman, honestly. A guy that can move around, but he can also play some third. I wonder, man. I wonder if Devers is going to end up getting traded here shortly. Maybe not anytime really soon, but I think they're looking at guys, With Devers, I wouldn't be surprised to see like a 3-way kind of a deal. I did put together a deal for Devers yesterday. A lot of Giants fans crapped all over it. Okay, fine. I put in Camille Duvall in that deal. I think I had a couple of 3-way trades. I had the Red Sox, the Giants, and the Mets. Going to the Red Sox, I had like a couple different packages. I had Brett Beatty in one of them, and then the other one I had Casey Schmidt, and then a couple other prospects mixed in there as well. It's like amazing to me when I see people comment saying, "There's no way they give up that guy. There's no way they're not going to deal." It's like, do you know do you know what the organization wants to do? It's like, my goodness. If you're telling me, if I'm the Giants, right, and I had a chance to get an impact bat like Rafael Devers, are you telling me that if all I had to give up was your closer and maybe a couple prospects, that you wouldn't do that for Rafael Devers? I don't know, man. I don't know. Relievers, yeah, like he's a good reliever, but you can find a lot of guys that could end up taking over the back end of your bullpen. You can find relievers. So I don't know. What am I saying? I don't know what I'm talking about. But I think there is a possibility because the Red Sox, they've been making calls. They've been making many, many different phone calls. They've checked in with other teams about other players. I wonder if there ends up being like a 3-way deal at some point for someone like Devers. You got Joey Wendell coming up in talks. The Marlins are looking to make some noise. I wonder if other teams are going to get involved. I'm wondering what's going to end up happening. I don't know. I found this interesting though. I don't think it necessarily means that he's going to be. They're looking for him to be your shortstop. I think they're looking at him as maybe a piece back. They can because if you are going to trade Devers, they are going to have to add some infield depth, and they still need someone up the middle. I don't know. So I think the fact that Wendell, he can play multiple positions, like third, I think that says a lot. I think it says more than just looking at it on the surface. Okay, he can just play second, Story can play short, vice versa. No, I think the Red Sox, they're looking to bring in some players that can play multiple positions just in case. Because the thing is if you bring in Wendell and you end up keeping Devers, well then okay, good call, right? But if you trade Devers, at least now you have a guy that can go play some third, right? So I'm just saying, I think there's a lot more to this, personally, than meets the eye. But everyone, I'm going to get out of here. It's Friday. I got to go do some Christmas shopping. I got to go get a couple of gifts. It's 11:30 here on the East Coast. I want to thank you all for joining me on this fine Friday morning. Everyone, last year, I did a Christmas stream on Christmas Eve. I think there's a good chance I do another one. I did a Christmas Eve stream last year. I think I might do it again tomorrow. Does Robbie Claus return? Put in the chat, everyone. Give me a thumbs up if Robbie Claus returns on Christmas Eve tomorrow. Do you want Robbie Claus to come back? Let me know what you think down below. But everyone, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go do some Christmas shopping. I'm going to go make some food. I'm pretty hungry right now. Go have yourself a good rest of your day. And, hey, it looks like people want Robbie Claus to come back. I see a couple of thumbs up in the chat. So it looks like maybe Robbie Claus will be back tomorrow night. Christmas Eve special. I'll see you all next time, everyone. See you later.